Namaskaram, Anna. It's so
Namaskaram,
good to
Samdutta.
finally, have you here in Intensify Life podcast. And I have been so inspired with your content that you have been producing and the works that you have been doing, and so grateful to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Samdutta ji.
Thank you so much. So, Anna, before we begin, of course, there are many, people who might be hearing you for the first time over here. And one thing I would like to ask at the beginning is your channel name, and everywhere it's written Tatmavasi. What
Yeah.
is the meaning of Tatmavasi?
Tatmavasi, I came to know of the word Tatmavasi. I'm not well versed in Sanskrit, but I came to know of it because of Sabrimala, Ayyappa. This is a South Indian temple which became famous in 2018 because of the whole issue that women were not allowed into the temple in the middle of the forest. I don't know if you are aware of that issue which happened, but the practice behind this temple is this that you need to follow certain vratas. Vratas means, certain disciplined sadhana and fasting and all that for 40 days. And then you walk through the jungle for 4 or 5 days, and then you reach this mountain on top of which Ayyappa's temple is there. And after going through all this 40 days of practice and then going through the jungle, which is full of wild animals even today, finally, when you reach the temple on the top, it's written as Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means Tattvamasi, you or that. So, what you have been seeking, what you have been waiting and preparing for, and how you have come here is already within you. That's what it means. And for me, it was such I could connect to that instantly because that is something that I've always seen as the essence of our culture, that Aham Brahmasmi, that I am Brahman. But not said from an egoistic standpoint, but that you have dissolved so that you have the individual's identity is dissolved and you become that. So Tattvamasi is another version of that, and I instantly took to that name, and my nonprofit is named after that Tattvamasi Dharmic Trust, and the temple tours that I conduct, the essence of that is also the same. That people have been going to temples for various reasons, and I want to transform that practice into something that you go to a temple so that you can become that. Whatever is sitting inside, whatever has been established inside, you should become that. So my programs or my tours are designed so that people can experience. Not that in 5 days they will become that, but at least they know that this is why these temples have been created for, not to go there and give your petition.
This is so profound. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, just like you mentioned, you have been extensively exploring, covering, and doing research and bringing out the various aspects and knowledge of various temples in India, shrines, consecrated places, different samadhis, and everything. And it's also mentioned in your channel and everywhere that it's high time that we educate this generation and the next generations regarding the science of temples, consecrated spaces, and shrines. And you want to use this as a tool to transform themselves. So, transformation on a global scale. So, you have been extensively on a journey, India and abroad, covering all these aspects. But the most important thing I would like to ask you is how did this journey begin? I mean, what has been like your academic background, and was it always there with you since your childhood, or if you can shed some light as to where is this coming from?
Yeah, the search was always there, trying to find meanings. I liked going to temples as a kid. I liked the ambience, the smell of the temple, it's still like if it's so nostalgic. The moment I start talking about it, I know the fragrance of the camphor, the diyas, the lights that are lit, and freshly made columns or the rangolis and all that, and the sound of the bell, and there is somebody who's sitting and singing some devotional song. this drew me always. And whenever I asked my parents, they would say, "Oh, no, you just go pray to God and come. That's what you do." And what do you pray for? "Oh, no, you ask whatever you want." And within me, the question was, if God is everywhere and he or she is all knowing, all pervasive, won't they know what I need? Why should I tell? That looked so silly for me even at that age. So I knew there is something else to it. And during my school time, there was this Tamil teacher who gave me a book by a Siddha. It's called Tirumular. It's a very famous Tamil text. He's one of the 18 Siddhas. He, how he got introduced, I got introduced with in Tamil poetry, you need to memorize, for exam's sake, you need to memorize a few lines. In that, one of that says like this, that there is no difference between Jiva, which is the life, and Shiva. And once the Jiva comes to know that it is Shiva, then it stops searching for Shiva and sits still as Shiva. So just these four lines, I'm like so enamored by this four lines. Like, what is he talking about? He's saying that there is no two different things, and once this realizes that is Shiva, then it will just sit as Shiva. So it's like, how does that work? So I went and asked him, and he said, "You're asking questions way beyond your age." And then he dismissed me off. And after a few days, he gifted me that book, that whole book of Siddharth Tirumular. Tirumular's story is, we can talk for days about him. He wrote more than 3,000 verses, and they say that he used to sit with eyes closed, and only on Mahashivratri he would open his eyes, say these four lines, and then close his eyes. So, like this 3,000 four-liners, four-line songs he gave. And his story is also like unique. He uh, was conned into taking up a young boy's body to guide the cows which were crying because the boy is dead. And he's out of his compassion, he's like, okay, let me lead the cows to the village. So he goes and sits inside the cave, takes the body of the boy, and then goes, gets the herd to the village, comes back. He's now in this cowherd's body, right? He goes into the cave and sees, and his body is gone. He's like, now what to do? Okay, now I have a young body. Let me sit and meditate for long. So that's how he sat. And within a few days, people realized that he's doing this, that once in a year he's saying these verses. So he is somebody who opened me to the concept of microcosm and macrocosm, the pinda and the anda, and how the siddhas and the yogis of the ancient, even today, but they saw that this is a replica of that. And with eyes closed, my questions used to be like, how, without telescopes, they gave us the Surya Siddhanta, they gave us the Panchanga. How did they know about all these planets? These were the questions. And nobody was ready to answer. And I saw in this that he is like a person who takes apart the whole cosmos into nuts and bolts and then puts it back together and says, this is how this human system is formed. And he creates all these methodologies. He talks about the pranayama, the Ashtanga Yoga, basically, he puts it there. And he says about these are the do's and don'ts, these are the disciplines that you need to follow, pranayama, the kinds of pranayamas, then what is dharana, dhyana, samadhi, pratyahara, of course, before that. All this he explains. And then he goes into the aspect of, okay, you have realized all that. Now what's the use? Now you come back and then you want to create machines. So he talks about what a yantra is, how to create a yantra, what are the materials that can be used, how can you infuse a yantra with sounds so that it can hold and reverberate in a certain way. Now you give this to somebody and this is what this yantra will do. And how the temple has to be established. Not in great detail, that comes into the agamas. But this is somebody who says that, okay, for me, when I read that, it hit me that Siddhas gave us a mesocosm. This is micro and that is macro. They gave a mesocosm so you can walk into that space and experience a microcosmos through which this can have a taste of what it could be to experience the macro. Because when these Siddhas, probably when they experienced it and came back to society, they knew the futility of explaining it to people. People won't understand because it's beyond logic, right? oh, I experienced the whole cosmos within me, they'll be stoned or chased away. You're a lunatic. So they created these small spaces where you can have people go in and have a glimpse or a taste of what the profoundness of this system is. So they created these concentrated energy spaces with a certain intent. It's not like every energy space is the same. Okay, somebody wants, they were farmers, they want their crops to grow well, so they would want wealth. Then they go into a certain space, Mahalakshmi kind of temple. If you want education to happen, then Saraswati kind of temple. You want fear to go away, then Bhairava kind of temple. So they created energy spaces with a certain intent. So it was an energy space with a certain capability of delivering something to the common people. So then this was not like happened overnight, but over a period of years, I realized that this is why temples are created, where you can go there and you can create a sankalpa. Today, positive thinking and all that manifesting is all like big talk. This is what these spaces are created for, that you go there with the right kind of intent, sankalpa, and you take the right kind of offerings, because these spaces are created in such a way that you need to use the right kind of materials to connect to the divine. So the pratishta, the whatever the presiding deity, you go there, give the offering to the priest, and then you stand there, have darshan. You see that space or the deity that has been created. Beneath that is the yantra that is placed, which has been energized to deliver whatever you need. There you create the sankalpa that this is so and so. So you tell your name, your gotra, your nakshatra. So that is your coordinates in this whole cosmos. Okay, so once you give your coordinate, they know, okay, this is so and so who was born in this timeline. Okay, that's that point. So you give your nakshatra, gotra, and your name, and then you stand there to creating the sankalpa. This is what needs to happen to me, and that's it. And whatever is being given, you take it as prasad because it has come in touch with that energy space. Now you take that, either the tirtha, the water becomes the tirtha, the flower, the fruit becomes the prasadam. Then you go around and then come and sit. Then you close your eyes. When standing there, you should not close your eyes in front of people. Go and sit, stand and pray like this. You have to have darshan. Darshan, in my workshops, I explain using quantum mechanics, physics, the basic quantum, the wave particle theory. They are still confused how photon can behave both as a particle and a wave at the same time. If you are observing it, it behaves like a particle. If you don't observe it, then it behaves like a wave. They are still confused. How can an observer change the reality of how a particle behaves? They still haven't figured it out. They won't. Because we have understood the power of paying attention. That's what darshana is. And that's what meditation is. And that's what dhyana is, dharana is. So we had created all these systems, the culture, the things that we do in our culture, everything is done with enormous attention, because without that attention, the cosmos will not yield to you. So darshan is that 100 people go there with the same wish, but for one person it happens, another it does not happen, depending upon the power of attention that person has. That attention could be just with devotion. A simple innocent person comes and says, you take care of everything, for me this should happen, and for him it will happen. We thinking people will go, I will do this, you give me this calculation, transaction happens, nothing will happen. So the power of attention can be brought about by whichever means, by either devotion or concentration, whichever way. Of course, there are many other factors. There is this whole karmic bundle that we have. We have our own planetary, astrological, all that thing, those things also influence the outcome of that sankalpa. But the power of the intent, the focus, the concentration is what decides how much the presiding deity yields to you. The reality of that energy changes. Your relationship with that changes. So once I discovered that, then for me, everything else, I started looking through this. And I saw that we have specialized so much in this field that we have forgotten why we created these things. We have made it a belief system, we have made morals, we have made philosophies out of it, but we forgot the simple mechanics of why these machines or these tools were created in the first place. So I decided I will remain as a seeker and translate this technology to people the way I have understood. Maybe I'm wrong, but it has worked for me. And using every other reference point, I've seen this is how it is. And whoever I have approached, they have all agreed to say yes, it is. Even I don't know if you can use this in your podcast, but Chinmaya Mission, they reached out to me and said, "Can we use your content for our children program? But you just need to quote from which scripture did you take this reference from?" I said, "I haven't taken it, and I'm sure it is not in one particular scripture. I may have to read maybe 100 scriptures before knowing this. But for me, it's better that I understand this subjectively, because what has happened, ours is a thousands of years of knowledge. Any science over thousands of years gets specialized and specialized and specialized. It's like modern medical science. Today there is an eye doctor, there is a kidney doctor, there is a nervous brain doctor, neurological, everybody, even knee doctor. So if you go to somebody, to a doctor, that you have stomach issues, they'll send you to gastro. Then he will give you a diagnose you and all that, treat you for life, and that stomach pain may not go. If you go on the ancient days, you go to Ayurveda, Siddha, Nadi Vaidya, he'll just hold your pulse and then he'll say, "You have some issue in your ear with the fluid, and that imbalance is creating this in your head. Because of that, you have this gastro problem." So he will treat that and this will get over. So they treated that whole thing as a one entity, right? That's what has happened to the spiritual process also. We specialize so much. We have created Vedanta, Advaita, Shaivam, Shaktam, Vaishnavam, all this we have created. Each is a branch claiming that we are the one. Everything else is wrong. If we step back and look at the whole tree, then, oh, the dots are connecting. We know why this has been created. Now, a knee doctor says knee is the most important thing in this world, and through knee only you can live life. That will be stupid. And that's exactly what we are doing in the spiritual side. Krishna is everything, and without that, nothing will happen. Shiva is everything. That's not the point. Why these have been created? Some people say, "Oh, I don't want to go to temple because God is within me, I'll do this." No, that also doesn't work. You have to use every tool that has been created, or at least whatever is accessible to you, to become a full-fledged human being. So then that connect happened over many years. Of course, I lived in an ashram for 15 years, and then last 10 years I've been doing this on my own, meeting so many people, getting exposed to things. It's not just here. You like one Sadhguru Sri Brahma documentary took me 5 years to make. Now I'm working on Agastya documentary. It's almost 6 years since I have been working on it. It's not something like a vlogger. I go there, get the information, and blurt it out. I have to go through this transformation myself. I need to see if Agastya Muni was real, right? And like this, I will be talking about in the episode. Every place I go, it's a knock on your head saying that, yes, I exist. Because somebody who's random, a descendant of Manika Vasagar Parambara, is like from 7th century. He calls me and asks me, "Is your Kula Devata or your Kudumba Devata Agastya Muni?" I said, "No." He said, "No, I see a Sanithyam around you." Sanithyam means this, like they can see who's your Kula Devata, right? So he said, "I can see Agastya Muni." I said, "No, last 3 years, I've been searching and shooting his places." He said, "He's around you." I said, "I don't know, I can't see it." So he told me to come back next day and gave me a Mula Mantra of Agastya Muni. And he said, "You do this sadhana so that he will open doors for you." And since then, it's been an avalanche of doors opening. So these are things that can't happen just like that. If I'm just going like a vlogger and taking and shooting and putting it out, it won't work. I need to start living it, because these are not, in India, we never paid much attention to history, because for us, there is no past and future. For us, it's all about now, the experience of now. So they bring you, like if Agastya Muni was there, he has to be here now for him to be working through so many people whom I have met. So these are all reminders that what we are working on is not some empty thing. These are, um, I mean, there will always be people who will criticize and comment and all that. I don't even, in the comments also, whenever they come and do something like that, I'll just put like and heart and then keep going. There's no point in trying to logically prove certain things because it's true. You just have to tell this and go because there are many people who are seeking. So I stand as a person who is still illiterate in Sanskrit as a seeker. When I was growing up, questions which were not answered to me, I want to stand there and explain this to people so they can walk into a space and know what it is. And I use this analogy of there's a different vending machines. Some gives carbonated drinks, another gives coffee, tea, another gives biscuits and toffees. You have to know how to go and access each. You can't just go and do this and expect that to come out. So temples and consecrated spaces, samadhis are like this, that you need to understand how to access this. Once we can enable this to people, there each one will have their own journey happening. So that's what I do.
You have given so many food for thought, and there are so many things I want to ask with this itself. And a few things that you just mentioned, like, we have never been taught all these things due to, if we look at our history of the country, there are several factors which led to all of us. Like me personally, if I just talk about myself, you said that you liked going to temples. For me, temples were just a place where people used to go and put money and they used to wish for something if it is getting granted or not. So I was like, since my childhood, I never understood the concept of why should I go to any of these places. But later on, as I grew up, I understood the significance of these things. But the sad part is that just like you mentioned, you go, you do a transaction, you pray, you give me this, you do that, etc. That does not work. It's more like a transaction. Nobody is having darshan. Nobody is just sitting and imbibing the energy of the temple. So, a quick question over here. If we see in most of the temples, whether it is the new temples, I am not sure of all the ancient old temples, it is there or not because I have not visited so many. There is this tradition or this practice of putting money in front of the deity. Is that is that even spiritually, technically viable, or is it more like a human conditioning over the period of time that has got, somewhere lost in the history?
Yeah, see, human beings have become like this. For them, anything, you can make anything happen through money. So you go and give this, you gave that to a clerk and got a document signed from the collector. You went to this business and did this money, and then this happened. You go to the temple, you keep doing the same thing. That's not how it needs to be done. As I said, each space has its own, even the offerings that they take, if it's a Shiva temple, you take the Bilva Patra Mala. If it's a Vishnu temple, you could take Tulsi Mala or, whatever that offering. They usually at the outside, they usually sell those things. These are also not important, but that's the way the rituals are designed. So you take the appropriate offering. Offering is not for the deity sitting there. Offering is for the person who is going there because you don't know how to offer yourself. So you use some substance which is conducive for that energy space. So you become the offering. So that's the idea behind it. You cannot use money. You think God can be bought. By now, Ambanis and other people would have bought him out, isn't it? Yes, you can get access through the VIP queue. That's all you can do. You know the story of Pusalar, right? So the king is
Yes.
building a temple, and Pusalar is a very poor guy. He can't even buy a brick. So he sits with eyes closed and daily, visually, he is creating it mentally, visualizing a temple within him, brick by brick, actually building the whole plan that he has in his mind. And when the king has completed the temple, he's requesting Shiva should come, and Shiva is saying, no, that date is booked for me already because I have to go to another devotee, which is bigger than your temple. King is like, how can somebody else build? And if Shiva is going to go there, he wants to know. So who is this Pusalar? He's going and inquiring, and this guy is sitting in a hut. It's like, where is your temple? That Shiva wants to come and refusing to come to my temple on that day. He is so embarrassed. So the main thing that is important is that you offered yourself. It's not the grandeur or the money that gives you access to the divine. Money, how that's how human beings are. You think you throw the money, things will come. I have encountered this many times. Having after living in the ashram, you come out, the reality of the world hits you. You suddenly see how the world functions. you know you start seeing that money is important for me. Why it's taking long? Not just because of the money. Of course, you need to search, you need to let certain things open up and all that, but I know money is important, but it can only do certain things, right? It can be a means for executing or doing certain things, but it cannot be the key to open up the cosmos or the interiority, one and the same. So that's basic human tendency to throw. Even in wells, they throw. They wherever they go, they want to put coins. But during the construction of the temple, like where the yantra is placed, they did keep precious stones there, gold coins, sometimes gold yantra, because these are capable of holding energies. And Vastu Shastra, even if you Google, you will find which precious stones to keep in which direction, like northwest, southeast. So they'll say emerald, ruby, this, that. So all that is placed beneath the yantra. So that is part of the yantra process, the pratishtha process. But as a devotee, as a person who's going there to access the energies, you don't have to throw money there. It's irrelevant.
Absolutely. And the only thing that you can offer yourself is you.
Even
And
that is not ours, but we at least attempt to do that.
at least attempt to do that. Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned a very important, interesting aspect of this geometry, like Vastu Shastra, or the calculation through which, things are kept where it should be kept. So, how much significance is there with respect to geometry, the calculations, in any kind of spiritual, I would say, spiritual practices, or any kind of yantra that you mentioned some time back? So, what is the significance of this geometry and calculations in all these aspects?
So when the Siddhas and the yogis gave us these signs of becoming that, Tatmavasi, yeah, geometry alignment, aligning this to that itself means that you have to align the geometry of this to that. So the geometry is very basic. Like you have to know the geometry of this. All the yogic postures are very geometric in nature. The alignment is very important. If you have learned classical Hatha Yoga, you would know that little bit of here, they will make you, correct you, because that alignment, little bit, 1 inch, 1 millimeter, makes a big difference in how your posture is. The same with the cosmic as well. You know, everything is moving in a certain ellipsoid way, and there is a rhythm to it. So when you say geometry, I'm also using the word rhythm because I want to use I can't say it analogy, the principle of Nataraja, the rhythm of cosmos is embodied in the form of Nataraja. He is like Shiva is the most agile dancer and yogi and many other things. For us, for geometry's sake, I'm taking that. The pose of Nataraja, if you take, that represents the whole cosmos by itself. And if you, there is a whole science called Agama Shastra. Shilpa Shastra is one of that, one of the aspect of Agama Shastra. Agama is the Vastu. And I'm using all this interchangeably because right now the usage of Vastu is more of in my house, how do I change? This is what Vastu is. But Vastu Shastra, not necessarily just that. It's about whole town planning, how a town should be planned, how a temple should be constructed. Agama Shastra is all about that. So, Vastu, the word means it's a property. Vastu, today we use the word Vastu, but Vastu means a property or a land, demarcated land. How to align this to the geometric uh, nature of the cosmos. Like how does the sun rise? Accordingly, you align your entrance and your exit. So geometry becomes very important right from the cosmic scale. Like you know the precision with which the planets are moving around the sun. The solar system is moving in the galaxy, and many galaxies are said to be moving. We still don't know. We are still figuring out this whole thing. Where is it moving? Which is the center of it? We don't know. But everything is happening with a certain rhythm and a geometry. Otherwise, each one will be clashing against each other, and there'll be chaos. So there is a certain rhythm to the geometry because geometry is not static. It's constantly in motion. That's what Nataraja's pose is. He's a dynamic. You took a still of a super dynamic dance. Hair are flying all sides. The flames are on. He has lifted one leg and then, the left leg in, except in Madurai where the right leg is up. So that's a totally different reason why he has done that. But this is perfect geometry that they have taken a still of the imagery of the most dynamic principle in the cosmos, which is Shiva. So when it comes to a yantra, there is again a geometry involved. There are triangles, there are squares, there is bhupura, there is a entrance there, and then you come to the center of the bindu. So this yantra is said to be the replica of a certain principle in the cosmos, whatever you are trying to invoke in that particular space. Similarly, in a house space, because a house is nothing but your cocoon is this. So it's like your own body. You must have noticed this in your own home. Suddenly you feel like moving this chair here, moving that table there,
Yes,
turning this
absolutely.
around.
Yeah.
This is because we are not the constant static being. We are evolving, we are changing all the time. So, according to our change, we want the space also to change. So, that is why that feeling, always if couples are there, always there will be fight. Why do you want to move this? Why do you want? But if you're alone, you know that you feel right when you move this here and there because this is an extension of you. So the geometry of this, you want that alignment to happen. It's happening unconsciously or subconsciously, you know this. But if you can make it consciously, then you also start reverberating with that cosmic principle. So there are many methods in our culture, many culturally embedded practices, right from simple thing as drawing a column. Kolam is in South India. It's like the rangolis of North, but here you have these dots and curved things goes around. Drawing a column, in my workshops, I make people actually sit and draw these things, simple columns. It's mind blowing because, see, people like Agastya Muni have given this simple practice of drawing a column in front of. This is something that in South India, even today, women come out, they sprinkle water and then draw these columns. In a simple practice like this, there is the highest principle of you aligning with the cosmic geometry is embedded there. The secret is there. You just have to subjectively shift yourself a little bit. I make people draw it in 10 minutes. They're like, wow, this is so meditative. That's because I've already explained a few things before that. And when they involve themselves, because just the posture, standing and doing this itself is like a good thing for women. Another thing is the spatial configuration and the ellipsoid nature of the columns that happens. There is, spatial configuration, there is geometry, alignment, because if you don't put dots equidistant, you will get an amoeba. You won't get the proper column. So everything, you can't have a scale there in the ground. You have to, your body mind coordination is important with geometry. So these things have been embedded in the culture that somewhere you know that these are important. So that's how important geometry is. Of course, if once you go into the whole aspect of Ashtanga Yoga, geometry plays a very important role about the asanas, the pranayam. There is a certain, symmetry to how you do certain things. And of course, with dhyana also, the way you sit. And this is very subjective once you go into subtler realms. You can't talk about those things. But yes, the fundamentals, the infrastructure, the scaffolding is all geometric in nature. There is no, you cannot separate geometry from everything else in the cosmos and in the system.
That's so true. And with respect to the kolam, I myself have seen the women just making it look so effortless. But when you try to do, who has never done that, it takes a different level of skill set. It's not any particular drawing that you can just draw, and even the dots, like you mentioned, they are just simply putting it at an equidistant without any measurement.
Yes.
And they typically make it for of rice flour, I guess.
Yeah. I
Yes,
mean, see, that's the humanitarian aspect of it. Like you,
yes.
Jiva Karunya, you take all the living beings. Because human beings, when they lived in nature, they were exposed to the forces of nature. Their awareness level was different because threat could come from any side. So you're always aware in a different way. But you also included other animals. Like that's how the dogs got domesticated, right? So the animals who survived off your hunt, like after human beings hunted, there were other beings which fed off the waste. Now we have built all this and separated ourselves from nature. We think we are the only living beings on the planet. But to remind that first thing in the morning, there are birds and animals which need this, they started doing this so that you first include them, that they need food. Then you come inside and cook your food.
This is so beautiful. I hope
Yeah.
more and more listen to this and actually, understand the importance and the depth of it. And we have been doing it for so many years, I mean, centuries
Yeah.
right now. So, yes, thank you for sharing that. And Anna, you also mentioned another very important aspect. So Kula Devta, I've seen your extensive, sharing on Kula Devta that you have made. But if we have to say in simple terms, because you also did something on Gramma Devta, and for people for whom it is very confusing, can you share the important significance or the difference between Kula Devta and Gram Devta?
Yeah, I've first let me correct. I have not done any extensive work yet. It's just the introductory video I put out. There's
Yes,
much
but
more
it seems
coming.
that lot is coming up. So
Yes.
yes, we are waiting for
Uh,
that.
and I'm not an expert in any way. It's a disclaimer because in the comments, so many people are asking questions as if I can find their Grama Devata or Kula Devata and give. I cannot.
Because you
Uh,
are bringing that, knowledge of information and the depth of it to people. So yes, we can
yeah,
call you
but
that.
Yeah, but my disclaimer is that I'm not an expert. So I'm from whatever I've heard, because see, with Agamic temples and Agamic Paradevatas, Parivara Devatas, we at least have these scriptures from where we can take references from. With Grama Devatas and Kula Devatas, there is no references. The very purpose of creating, or why the Siddhas and Yogis created this Grama Devata and Kula Devata worship, is because it's easy. In Paradevatas, if you are establishing temples through agamic science, you need enormous resources. First, there should be a king kind of sponsor to build something of that, grandeur and maintenance of it. Even today we are struggling with maintaining these temples, but those days they either had like hundreds of acres from which the revenue was used to maintain the temple. That is finance side. But the acharyas, the priests who had to maintain this, their minimum 4 to 6 times puja has to happen from morning till night. And every month there will be Amavasya, Paurnami, Chaturthis, Ashtamis, Ekadasis. These are all rituals that will happen. And then yearly once Brahmotsavam will happen. These are all very, intensive processes. Maintaining Agamic temple is very tough. So the yogis and siddhas of the ancient, Agastya Muni, starting from him, they created the Grama Devatas, which is the principle is the same. For example, like Mardan, we call Mardan. Um, in North, we have this Golu Devata who comes on horseback. Equivalent in South India, we have this Karpar Swami or Madal Swami. In South India, you would have seen these huge statues with horse and sword lifting thing. Ayyanars, Munishwarans. These are all an element of Shiva or Vishnu. They will have their own folk story around it, but they don't need an elaborate structure. Many of the temples would just be a brick or a stone or just a weapon like a sword or a trishul, trident kept. And they don't need 4 times, 6 times puja a day. Weekly once, they decide when they want to do the offering. And maybe yearly once they will do a bali, animal sacrifice. And that's it. And they are much more powerful. When I say powerful, not that the Paradevatas are less powerful, but in the sense of how commoners would experience, they are like walking with you. These gods walk with you, live with you. So they are tangible in that sense. I mean, today with all these movies and everything else, we have gotten distorted, but they show signs of their presence through anklet sounds, jasmine smells, cigar smells. They are as physically tangible as any other human being. And they don't need elaborate pujas and havans to invoke. You just offer a bottle of rum and a cigar and say, you come, he'll come with true devotion. Not that you're bribing him. I tell people in the recent workshop, somebody stood up and said, I told them that if you have a land dispute, you don't go to Shiva and ask him. He doesn't care about your land dispute. He is sitting there to offer you mukti. You go to this Gramma Devata and you go and say this, offer whatever his offering, his or her offering, and say that, this dispute is happening, please resolve it for me. He will solve it for you. So they asked me, what if the other party also goes and does the same thing? I said, the difference being they stand for justice. They cannot be bribed by these things. Of course, there are Dushta Devatas, or the same, there are lower, even in Gramma Devatas, there are different levels. You can use certain forces, force them to use it. These are much lower level entities, but they are not permanent. But these Grama Devatas are an amsa or an element or a principle of the Paradevatas, or their folk story is connected to them. And it's very simple. There is no mantras, there is no Brahmin priest doing this. See, in the US, when I do these workshops, one thing immediately the question is, oh, what about castes? Caste system there, Why Brahmins don't allow anybody else to go into why the priests don't allow anybody? I tell them, see, for a surgery to be performed, you make that person study for 10 years, another 2, 3 years, he works as an assistant before being allowed. And even then, he has to sterilize his hands and everything, and he has to go and do it. Similarly, an acharya, that's another documentary that I'm working on, Veda Padashala, they go through that. 7 to 10 years of study goes in for them to become eligible to be able to do the rituals inside a Garbhagraha. Not every Brahmin can go inside. It's not a caste thing. A Brahmin has to be educated in the Veda Patashala and graduate before he can actually go inside and do that. But he cannot come into a Grama Devata and perform the puja. He cannot. Only the person from that community, the Grama Devata community, can go inside and do that, or inside or in that area. So, considering the ratio of the Agamic temple and Grama Devatas, if let's say 10 villages are there, 10 villages will have 10 Grama Devatas, one Agamic temple. So there is only one priest, Brahmin priest, rest is all 10 different communities, priests. So who is the majority? So the narrative that is being pushed here is like that. So coming to how a Grama Devata functions or what it is. See, how illogical can we go in this podcast?
Absolutely anything.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
because,
there is no limit.
yeah, growing up, I didn't have the necessary vocabulary to explain these things, but now there are so many podcasts happening, people like Rajarishi Nandi and, all these people. The vocabulary they have used is very good. So we can talk. So these are not just, um, it's like how this is Bhuloka, this is the earthly plane. There are different planes which are existing in parallel. So they say in Satyuga they used to frequent often. But now, because of our receptivity and our subtlety getting reduced, they don't interact much often. If you look at ancient scriptures and Puranas, you will see there are even marriages happening between Gandharvas and Manushas. So there are Gandharvas, Yakshas, Ganas, Nagas. Like this, there are so many. Sastas. These are all as real as us. It's just that they are from a different realm. Like Kailash is one place that they say even today there is such traffic happening of some other beings coming and going. So these entities or energy forms can be established in one place, can be invoked in one place. That's how the Gramma Devatas are established. The difference between a Gramma Devata and a Paradevata from an Agamic temple, let's say there is a Vaidyanatha temple where Vaidiswarar is the presiding deity. You have to go there to the temple to go and create the sankalpa in front of his Garbhagraha, not from your home. But for a Grama Devata, wherever you are, you can create the necessary ambience, make the necessary offerings, and say, Karpa, you have to come, he'll come. So the flexibility and the freedom that these Grama Devatas have, why they have this is because these are simple people. Mostly it's agrarian society, people who are involved in agriculture. For them, the crop has to grow well. He needs to have children. That's the purpose for which the Grama Devatas serve for. So your small disputes and things that you need to be resolved, these things they cater to. These are important for a commoner. He's not seeking liberation or mukti. He's not wanting vidya. He's not wanting, Mahalakshmi to that extent that a king needs. So these things are catered by the Grama Devatas. A healthy life, a fertile life, fertile in terms of having more children and also having a good crop. These things are taken care of by the Grama Devatas. Or in the today's new age people want chakras, right? So in basic terminologies, we can say they cater to the lower three chakras. Basic sustenance, they take care of. You don't go to them and ask for mukti. They will deliver you to the next Paradevatas. So even like in Agamic temple, there is a presiding deity and there are Parivara Devatas. There is a family who is a part of this. I explain in my Know Your Temples videos how if you are inviting the Prime Minister home, he won't come alone. The bodyguards will come, the Home Minister will come, the local minister will come, everybody will come. You didn't invite them, but they'll all come because you just invited the Prime Minister. Similarly, when you establish the presiding Devata, everybody else will come because he or she cannot function without the family of deities, the Parivara Devatas. Because the presiding deity is constantly in a state of giving. He or she is open. That's why you can give. You cannot be closed like this and give, right? You have to be open giving. But at the same time, the openness creates the vulnerability. So that vulnerability has to be protected by the Parivara Devatas and a Kshetrapala. Usually in a Shiva temple is Kalabhairav, or in Vishnu temple it's just a Kshetrapal. These aspects are there in the Grama Devatas also, but in a miniature form. If let's say there is Angala Parameshwari, why I'm taking that example is because I'm working on the documentary of Angala Parameshwari. The Kshetrapala is a Karpar Swami, who's an aspect of Bhairav. So he's there. So the principle is the same, but there is no elaborate structures. There could be just a sword planted there, and during the pujas, the priest will go and do that, acknowledge, invoke him there. So Grama Devatas are instantaneous to deliver. So that's what people need today because they think that gods have gone to sleep because we are going on asking, they are not giving. Transaction is not happening. I'm giving so much money, he's not giving. That's their concern. But they don't work like that. But Grama Devatas are right now the whole wave that is being created with Bhairav sadhana, many other sadhanas that are happening. Muruga, Subramanya is being created, a big wave. For me, growing up, Subramanya, for us, my family Devata is Kartikeya, Subramanya of Tiruchendur. So we know Skanda Shashti Kavasam is a beautiful song which talks about the beauty of Subramanya, but also talks about he protecting different parts of my body. Right from the top, they describe each and every part. It's like a kavacha of any other mantra, but sung in colloquial Tamil, so that everybody can relate to it. They are invoking Subramanya to come and protect this whole system as a kavacha. He is a warlord. So he used to exist at some point throughout till Afghanistan. Also, they are finding these statues of Kartikeya today. But why he was eliminated is because he is a warlord. Even today, Veeravel, Vetrivel means it's like your blood will boil. That's how that slogan itself is. They knew as long as these people had this warlord, you cannot defeat them because you just have to weaken them. So that's why mostly that was destroyed. Now it's again being brought up in a big way. So he is very much a Gramma Devata, but also a part of Paradevata because he is son of Shiva. Kula Devatas in the other category, they are for a particular clan. A Gramma, a village could have many clans. When I say clans, it's community. Community being, let's say, I am a carpenter, Asari, Vishwakarmas, who build, who would be architects, there could be sthapatis, there could be ironsmiths, there could be other people, agriculture, farmers. So each community will have their own Kula Devata, designed to support them in what they are doing. So Vishwakarma will have Mayan, let's say. Mayans are Mayan is also there in Mahabharat, where he comes and builds the whole city for Indraprastha, right? It's created overnight. Mayan is also in Mexico, in South America. So these are things coming up later. Research is going on. So these communities will have their own Kuladevatas who help them perform their activity. So when we say community, they will have a separate genetic pool. They won't intermarry. Social reasons being, if a daughter-in-law comes from a different community, she will not understand how this community works. So they always, and also this is enrichment of knowledge. Another community of Vishwakarma and this Vishwakarma comes together, then it's an enrichment, sharing of knowledge happens. This is how they kept on specializing over generations. Their food style will be unique. Everything, dressing style, the marriage, the rituals, everything that community will have. So accordingly, a Kuladevata is there. Some questions that were there in the comments was about, I am getting married, I am a woman, I get married to my husband, should I drop my Kuladevata and go take my husband's Kuladevata? It depends on the family structure. Like in Kerala, most of the families are matriarchal structure. Then they take the wife's Kuladevi. So, not that they drop it, they still continue doing both, but the son or the daughter will take the mother's Kuladevi or Devata.
This is interesting. I'm sure a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it depends on the matriarchal or patriarchal society, I mean, the community, the principle. And recently, as I was doing research on this, I found an article where they found, usually the research is done on drosophilas. Drosophilas are these fruit flies which, keep bothering us because that's what they study for genetic makeup. It's very easy to, because I studied agriculture, so I know the genetics is usually studied with drosophilas because you can study like 50 generations within like a year, because it dies and then it bonds. You can study the mutations and all that. So they have found that when the drosophilas mate, the genetic makeup of the Drosophila changes in 24 hours, the female body, the female genetic of some chromosome, they have mentioned the mapping of that changes. And they have also discovered it happens in the human being also. That when they start having physical relationship, the genetic one chromosome, whatever, not the chromosome, but one in the genetic makeup, one element changes in the female. So I immediately connect, maybe this is how it is connected to that you take up the husband's Devata. Maybe I'm just, it's my conjecture at this point. But there is a transformation, genetic transformation going through, and we know that the Kula Devata works for that gene pool. So this is again conjecture. I can't prove all these things, but I'm just arriving at based on what I have read and studied.
But this is fabulous. You have explained it in such simple terms, and this is so profound. And so, if you see, just like you mentioned, there are so many people nowadays wanting to know more and more about these things, thanks to social media as well. the knowledge is spreading. And the important thing is finding the right knowledge from the right places. That's also there. But the big, positive factor that I'm seeing, that people are curious about their history, about their Sanatan Dharma, about the temples, about how what happened, when it happened, and what impact it has on our lives. And with that, I also saw that you, a few years back, like, you are not a person who just creates content for the sake of creating content. You go all in, like you mentioned. You do extensive research, like the documentaries you are coming up with. You created an series on Tata and the stories by him. It was so amazing. And now you are coming up with more documentaries. And one place I also saw that you have traveled more than 5,000 kilometers, covering 22 plus temples and samadhi places, everything from Kanyakumari to Mumbai. So, during all your these journeys, wherever it is, India, abroad, everywhere, have you come across, I'm sure there might be many, but have you come across any place, any temple, any shrine, any samadhi where you felt the energy so powerful, which you did not feel anywhere else?
I don't know. This is somebody. So, few people have asked this, like, which is the most powerful that you have visited that is like, hit you like that. I don't work like that. For me, it's never a comparison that way. It's like asking which is your most favorite food.
Fair enough.
Like people would name one, right? Like I don't know. I even don't comment when I eat like this is tasty because for me has its own taste. It's neither good or bad, It's just that I may take a liking to it, but that's still personal conditioning, right? So
Absolutely.
I am not a filter who can go to a space and comment about the nature, the power of that particular space. Because what has happened is not that whenever I visit for my research, I will not just visit once. I'll stay there, visit once in the morning, go in the evening, again next day. You would have noticed this going to temples that if you go with the after food, your experience of the space is in one way. If you go in empty stomach, it's in another way. You go on a full moon day, it's in one way. And you go on a new moon day, it's in another way. You go there happy, it's in one way. You had some bad news happening, you go there, your experience is in another way. That space is always the same. The filter that we carry should not be used to judge the energy of that space. People should drop this about this is the most powerful. This is what in the reel somebody says, and the whole crowd goes there and becomes crowded. In
That
Tatmavasi, I
is
take
so
people
true.
to the
I
most
agree.
not visited ancient temples. It's about how you connect to it, which makes it powerful for you. I cannot make a blanket statement that this is a powerful temple. That's the most ignorant way of making a comment about a space. That space has evolved over centuries, or we don't know how long, yugas. That is a mini cosmos by itself. We cannot comment on that by in that yuga's timeline. I go there for a split second and I comment this is how it is because I am full of nonsense that day. That will be the most ignorant way of judging a space.
That is so true. And you have put it in such a, simple yet profound manner. So, with respect to the temples that we were talking about, uh, we all know that majority of our ancient temples today in India are mostly, with respect to the concentration and numbers, are still in South India. So, in some of the, places we came across and saw that there are so many temples where there are, what do you call it, sculptures and designs inside the walls and in the ceilings everywhere of propellers of modern technology that we use nowadays, but these were made thousands and thousands of years ago, of aircraft, of Vimana, and all these things. And so, did you come across any such thing, or have you done any research on these
I
ancient, technologies that the so-called Western world is claiming that they have invented all these things.
I don't want to comment on this kind of approaching the temples because I know that's the uh, majority of temple goers or the influencers who are creating videos are making about these technologies. Please don't do that. That space itself is ancient technology. I want people to experience. Don't take out. We can't understand what we can't decipher what these things are. Few of the debunking videos which I also watched about these. One is a very recent temple, 2001, and it was like, oh, there is a car in this, and then there is a four wheels, and of course, 2000 in the year 2000 we had a car, but you are talking about this is like, see, let's not mislead people by,
Oh, is
oh,
that
they had
true?
a
I
cell
mean,
phone here, they had heels
2000
there.
type of thing also happened. I'm not aware of that.
Sorry.
2000 and 2001 type of, like, people have actually made it and they are trying to
No, the
promote it
temple
as.
is very recent. I'm saying it had a car carved on the panel, and this person, I don't want to name because he's pretty famous. He may be upset, and people, there is a huge fan following, they may be upset. Taking temples and trying to tell this is alien technology, this is ancient technology, this is cell phone, this lady is holding, this is holding. Why? Let's use that space for what it has been created for.
Right.
Don't export human capability to other planets, to aliens. Human beings created it. Human beings lived with that capacity of experiencing the cosmic. Let's not make it, like, let's not export that technology to other planets or to the past. If they had Vimanas in the past, they had the sense to not make more aircraft because they saw that it's going to destroy the ozone or stratosphere or whatever, the ether. Basically, that's what the some of the videos I saw. They didn't want that. Ether is what, for a siddha, for a yogi, why he moves away from society once he hits a certain realization or an experience is because he becomes so sensitive to energies. Even somebody's thought process becomes disturbing. It's too loud for them. So they move away. Similarly, the earth also has its own etheric sphere, which is very subtle. Why we light a lamp and sit for any practice, any sadhana, is because it becomes like the connect to the etheric sphere, humans etheric, the energy is etheric to the cosmic etheric. So that's how subtle that space is. Whatever embellishments has happened, if you go to Khajuraho, all kinds of amorphous things are carved. Should we focus on that or what has been established inside? That's our decision. We should make that. Let's not, oh, this is advanced technology. I don't know. You can edit this out or put it later. One guy is showing that lingas rotate.
Oh, yeah,
We,
even I saw that video. So
we
that's
should
why
not.
I thought of asking you, because you have traveled to all these places yourself, and people who have not been, and when we watch those videos, the fact is it even true, or is it like really relating to something or signifying? Like you were
Not
just
at all.
debunking some of the myths right now. So,
See, if the Agama Shastra talks about even if the idol's nail is chipped off, then you need to change. It's called the binna. The damage has happened. You cannot do puja to that. You have to do a punarpratishta. Bring a fresh idol and do. That's how they are particular about it. Now somebody is rotating and saying this is how it used to rotate. Like what? You're destroying the whole agamic thing. First of all, you don't understand why it is. There is an ashtabandhana, that is there is a maroon colored fluid which is for binding the yantra, the gap between the yantra and the deity. They put that liquid and it solidifies. If you go to temples, you'll see at the base there'll be a maroon or red colored thing. Over a period of time, it will become black. But 12 years, 11 to 12 years, it will start breaking up. That's when they do the Punarpratishta, Kumbhabhishekam, because they'll start cracking up, little bit of water, Abhishekam fluid will go into the yantra, even little bit of shake, then they should not do the puja. They'll have to stop it, do Palalayam, move the energy out, remove the whole thing and fix, because stability, sthiram. is, that stability is important in a Vigraha. And this person is going on saying this is for generating electricity, electrodes. I'm like, what? Just because there is nobody to explain the actual prana pradishta, what it is, they are explaining this is a generator to generate electricity.
That is so true because I remember when I was small and in my home as well, even if there is a little bit of scratch or little bit of dent or anything, you actually replace that idol and you actually submerge in water and do the necessary steps that's needed. So yes, glad I asked this question and thank you for sharing it. And Anna, you have a lot of offerings like in terms of temple tours, in terms of people can go and stay in you have certain services that you are also providing. Could you please share what are the things and how can people benefit from all these?
Yeah, so I do that only because I need to fund whatever I'm doing. These are all my passion projects. Nobody will fund these things. So I do these tours. Bali is one thing I do, Bali tour. I call this the theme being visit India, visit Bharat that was 1,000 years ago. Because once you go into these spaces, you see people are still following rituals from 1,000 years ago. It's a little changed here and there, but that's wonderful to see. That is one thing I do. Then Sadhguru Sri Brahma Yatra, of course, because I made that series and people want to travel with me. Otherwise, all the
I would
Google
just
Map.
take a moment and share over here. That series is so extensive and so amazing. I saw all the details and the kind of effort you have put in there to bring that thing out to us. So thanks to you for taking out all the effort and doing that.
Yeah, but I cannot take all the credit. Vijay Kumar was the one who did the most of the research. I was sucked into this project beyond. I thought I'll just do a 1 hour documentary and finish and move on to the next, but it became a 7 hour, 14 episode series. So it went beyond us. So, no, that's how it's meant to have happened. So, in each and every episode, we have put the Google Map locations. So people can always go there on their own, but they wish to travel with me because so many stories which we couldn't publish, we share and we travel together. So I do that once or twice a year. And I have a homestay where I take people on 3 day and 5 day packages. They come and stay with me. This is in Kanyakumari. And if I'm not there, my brother takes people around and I conduct the sessions virtually. We take them through the different temples. These are 7th, 8th century temples. And these are just for yourself. You walk in there, you are the only person there. And it's maintained so pristinely, so well by these priests, just one or two people there. It's like walking into a film set in the evenings. Lamps are lit and you are the only person standing in front of the Garbhagraha. People's experience of going to these famous temples, they stand for 2 3 hours in the queue and 10 seconds you get for darshan and that's it. And all the pushing and pulling and the noise. Here you are just there. So there is a possibility of experiencing it. So I take them to a Shaiva temple, then a Vaishnava temple, the Shakta temple, then Kaumara temple. So they can see the difference. Instead of just talking in a video, I use the analogy of taking people to a restaurant to make them eat instead of just reading a menu card. You need to take them, make them eat to know the difference between a tandoori and a Korean or Chinese. So I make them experience it themselves. They can do the ritual, they participate, they can meditate. So that's a 5 day package that and 3 day package that happens at Kanyakumari. I'm also planning to start many more, but right now I need to focus. Even sorry to have delayed this podcast by 6 months, but I had taken a break from all social media and stuff because so much I had shot for 3 4 years. I needed to sit and immerse myself into that content. So that kind of sitting down, that luxury can happen only. I last year I did whole year I did yatras. Every month I did a batch and two Sadhguru Shri Brahma Yatras, one Bali Yatra. So I could take the 6 months off, sit in a focused manner and do that because I have 16 more documentary series to do. I hope I can finish it before I die because Agastya, I thought I'll do 6 episodes, but now it's going on to 3 seasons. to more than 12 or 15 episodes, I don't know. So that will start releasing this year. So in between this, I manage these yatras to fund. I also do commercial projects for temples in the US, um, because here the temples need that, because next generation don't have a clue of why these kshetras are built or how to access them. So I wear multiple hats. I direct, I videograph, I of course hire a team when it needs to do. I have done Bollywood commercial projects for.
Yes, coming to that, I also saw, and I also wanted to ask, you have a fabulous directional and cinematography. I think you have been doing it, and these are amazing
Yeah.
videos that are there on your website. So you've worked with the people for ads, etc., with the celebrities and all.
Yes, I directed for a company, Swedish company, who used to do celebrities as for their products. So I've shot Anupam Kher, Konkana Sen, Rahul Bose, and yeah, I mean these are things that gives you exposure to what craft you need to tell the story when it comes to the spiritual thing. Because I cannot stand sitting for a 3 hour pravachan. I'm sorry to say, but that's how I grew up, and I cannot, and I am sure the next generation also won't be able to sit through unless they are of that quality, which is very less percentage. So we have to make it crisp. The storytelling has to be whatever we use in a commercial, that kind of storytelling has to be brought here. The Tata Talks itself is a story, right? It's in a story format. I, of course, don't remember every detail of what my Tata said, but I pack it in that format because that's the way our grandmothers told stories. So I'm bringing that storytelling back. These all learnings come from working in the commercial industry.
And there are so many things I would want to ask you more, but I think today you gave us a lot of your time. And maybe if you would, permit, we would also like to do a second episode of this one, where I would extensively would want to go in your Tata series, Sadhguru Sri Brahma, and your upcoming series once you bring it out, because there are so many things that you can share, and it will take time. So, people who have yet to watch, please go to his YouTube channel and watch these extensive videos that he has brought up. And Anna, anything else you would like to share to people of today's generation, and typically the parents, who have kids and who are bringing up the next generation? Any message, anything from your, learnings?
Yeah, when I conduct these workshops in the US, especially, they after 2 days, because initially they're like, "What are you going to talk for 2 days about temples?" Then after there's so much more we can. It's 8 hour sessions, 16 hours. After that, they're like, "Oh, we want more. Can you do it for our kids?" So I tell them, I don't want to do it for kids. You people start living this in your life. They should be inspired to live like you. That's how we can transmit, not by me conducting a 1 day or 2 day for the kids. So some simple practice, some nama japa, mantra japa, get started as an adult. Light a lamp, sit there, do that for 10, 15 minutes in a day. In 24 hours, if you're waking for 12 hours, 5, 10 minutes, if you cannot give for that, then there is no point in worrying about the next generation. We have to live that, see that this is transformative, and show, not to show per se, but for them to observe that this is transforming. My father, my mother, they will, don't worry about the children. You first work on transforming yourself. Practice this, have a lamp lit, whatever your favorite deities, no deities, it's okay, just a lamp lit, sit there, do this, and it will definitely make a big difference in your life, and that's more important. Don't worry about your children's life, that they will, the influence of society is much more. So if we can show them that yes, this has worked for me, this has been helpful for me and transformative, they will anyway pick up. Yeah, initially they will go for a round, go experience everything else, but ultimately they'll come, they will want a solution at some point, because they will know that the outside does not solve anything. They'll come back. But when they come back, you need to be there as an anchor, as an example, to show that this has worked for me.
Absolutely. Thank you for such a wonderful message, and Anna. There is so much of things that you have shared, and once again, I'm so grateful to have you here today. And I'm looking forward to more of the documentaries that you're bringing up. And Absolutely a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much, Anna. It has been an absolute honor.
Thanks for
Namaskar,
having
Anna.
me,
Namaskar.
Somdutta.